I know that we have the best speaker here to do that. I'm going to read her bio first because it's actually kind of like funny how amazing she is. It sounds fake. So, January Donovan, she's the founder of the Women's School and the Wholeness Coaching School with over 25 years of experience training women. She's a 2-time best-selling author. She started as a stay-at-home mom who built a multi-million-dollar company from scratch in just 2 years. The company grew from 0 to 40 countries in 3 years. She is featured in Forbes and as a top self-worth coach. She runs the company with her husband, and she is a mama of 8. So, fake, right? Like I made it up. It's true. And I know it's true because we have been friends for 20 years. We lived together. We both did a year of volunteer work. And I can attest because, you know, when you live with somebody, you really get to know them. She walks the walk. She is wickedly smart. She is funny, she is kind, and she is genuine. She has had a passion for helping women when we were in our teens, and she is living that out by dedicating her life to teaching women how to truly be a woman. And my favorite part is actually giving us the tools to do it. You know, oftentimes I go to a really amazing event and hear a speaker, and I'm so excited, but then I'm like, well, now what do? I just go home and I start feeding my kids, and then I forget. But Jan will give us the tools to actually implement whatever it is that you're struggling with in your life today. So it's going to be an awesome day. January has been a personal mentor of mine. She is one of the people I look up to most in my life. You are so special to me, Jan. This is surreal that you're here. So it is my honor to introduce someone who's changed my life and will change all of yours today, January Donovan.
I'm going to cry. I wasn't expecting that. First of all, I just want to, it takes one woman to make a massive difference. Chelsea and I were together when I was 21 in this house, dreaming about training women, which is obviously 5 years ago because I'm only 25. I'm 45. And I, met a bunch of you, and I thought, the glue is that woman, because it's been almost 25 years, and here you are, still serving women. So I just want you to know it takes one woman to make a difference who loves to serve women out there. So thank you. I saw her yesterday, and I literally was just in tears because I thought, God is so good. God is so good. That friendship is so profound that you can change the world together, have 8 kids, dream about it, not talk to each other for years, and still, you're doing exactly what you're called to do. So thank you. I'm so grateful to be here. And I'm going to get my little, they call me tech queen in my company. So if I have a little techie issue. So today, it's all about rediscovering why you're here. Imagine, our world is a little bit gone mad. Who would say that? Right? I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Truly, we are made for more. So who here thinks it is hard to be a woman today? Now, in our school, we rate everything so that we have an interior metric. So 0 to 10, who here thinks that it is hard to be a woman today? Come on, raise your hand. It's okay. Do you think it's harder than it was 100 years ago or maybe 80 years ago? Which one thinks? I mean, come on. We have some, just think about it. Do you think it's harder to be a woman today than it was maybe 50, 60 years ago? Who thinks it's harder about 100 years ago? Harder. Okay. Who thinks it's harder today? Okay. So if you think about, we now have the convenience of the washing machine. We now have cars. We can travel. We can own property. We have all these conveniences in the world. And yet, data is telling us that women are less fulfilled, there's more depression, there's more unfulfillment in our life, and we actually have data that's actually telling us with all the things that we've achieved, why are women unfulfilled with their life? Why do you think? Who here, why do you think women today are unfulfilled with their life? I won't be grading anyone. I am a teacher. Yes. Yes. Yeah, sorry. Yes.
Because we're expected to do something that we may not want to do, but we feel we ought to do because we're being pressured into doing something that we don't want to do.
Yes.
We're not being allowed to fulfill what God wants us to fulfill.
Yeah. So what you're saying is that we're not actually in alignment with who we were created to be. But we might not even have language for it. Who else had? Yes.
I think we're distracted by a lot of earthly things when, like you said, this was.
Yes, there's a lot of distractions.
My
So,
world insists on it.
yeah, and so, I feel like today, because we're going so fast, we're not actually thinking about why women are unfulfilled. And so today, we're going to take a little bit of a quick pulse, and my goal here for you is to start thinking about your sister, your daughter, your friend, your grandmother. And I want you to think about not just you as a woman, but I want you to think about your circle of friends. When I asked Chelsea, I'm like, so describe the women here, January. In Chelsea, when you're coming, I wanted to make sure I was serving you right. She said, these are leaders. So we need to understand who we're leading, what's happening in our culture. So right now, I just want to do something a little bit sort of kind of an awareness, which is what we call, can I move this here right here? I just want to say my husband is here, my everything man, 17 years of marriage. And I thought I usually fly with my assistant, but I was like, but why can't we just fly together? And so he's helping here. So let's just kind of reintroduce the whole woman, okay? So I'm going to introduce a new concept for you. I'm going to describe each part of what we call the wholeness arena. And this is actually from Theodore Roosevelt's Man of the Arena. Who knows that poem? It's powerful. It means that every part of your life matters. But today, we are told only parts of us matter, right? Maybe your money, maybe your body. And we're going to talk about that. So very briefly, I'm going to talk about, let's rate what we think our culture thinks about the state of our culture right now. Let's talk about the state of our culture. So I want you to do 0 to 10 and just kind of do it very briefly, or I call it rapid fire. So I'm going to describe it. Self-image, which means that it is the opinion that we hold of ourselves. Do you think right now women like who they are and like who they're becoming? 0 to 10. What do you think? Women are happy with who they are. They like the woman they're becoming. Yes. 4? Any takers? 5. Great. Okay. Health. The way we describe it in the woman's school is integrated. A lot of times when we think about health, it's physical health, mental health. But see, health has to be integrated because our thoughts, biologically, what I think about, actually impacts my emotion. If somebody is betraying me, I start to get anxious. But then it impacts me physically. Literally, I start to get anxious, right? And then am I spiritually hijacked? Yes. So we have to look at health not because I'm exercising, I'm eating healthy, because you can exercise all day long, but you're actually ruminating negative thoughts. You're still actually, and there's so many data now that's telling us that thoughts actually lead to lower immune system and disease. So we have to look at health. Do 0 to 10 with all the health I would say, opportunities we have, 0 to 10, are women today healthy, integratedly, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually? Just give me a number. 2. Oh, it's amazing you have all these great workouts. Okay, friendship. How we define friendship is accompaniment in the journey towards becoming who you were created to be. Today, we have an epidemic where loneliness is now, they declared, an international epidemic. 0 to 10. Women know how to be a friend, and they know how to actually lead the women in their lives to becoming greater than their current self. 0 to 10.
9.
This is a good group. 9? So you think we have a culture right now where people know how to be friends? No. Give me a number. 4. 3? Okay. Awesome. Okay. Intimacy, which is the most sacred part of who we are, reserved for the person who has earned the right to be there. Are our intimate relationships fulfilling? Are our marriages inspiring? Do we feel admired in the relationships that we are in? 10. You're in a great marriage. I love it. As a culture, give me a pulse.
2. 1.
2? Wow. That's really sad. Okay. It's okay. I loved 9.
We're going to do personal.
Yeah, we're going to do it later on personally. So we're going to do culture. I'm going to put on my teacher hat in the afternoon, but right now we're going to understand the state of our culture. Okay? So contribution, which is the extension, really, of your unique, irreplaceable purpose, which means whether you're a stay-at-home mom, which I was for many years, or you're in between, or you're working, do you feel like women love what they're doing, and they're contributing their irreplaceable and unique contribution in this world? 0 to 10. 0. 0. Wow.
2, 3, 4.
Environment, right? Our home, our offices, our communities, our churches. Is it a place that inspires women? Our homes ought to be beautiful. It ought to be inspiring. Is our home right now a place where I'm like, I just want to be home? I ask my children, I have obviously 8, my oldest is 16, and occasionally every quarter or so I'm like, do you love being home? What do you love about home? I want a pulse. I grew up in the Philippines for 11 years, and my parents were here. I was an immigrant 5 years. I didn't see them straight for 5 years straight. And so I remember going to my friend's house, which we lived in a very poor place in town, and they had a living room, because I didn't know what a living room was. You know, because my parents were so hardworking, and they had a printing press in their house, and they had to have the machine in our living room. And I remember, I'm like, I don't know what a home is like, but it wasn't my parents' fault. It was just a state. And so one of the things that I prayed for, worked towards, and Chelsea and I were in mission work together. I was in charge of the kitchen. I had to clean it in an hour, cook for 20 women, clean it up in less than half an hour. I had to time myself. I still time my children until this day. So environment, is our home, our environment, a place of beauty and inspiration? 0 to 10.
6, 7, 8, 7.
I mean, this place is so beautiful. What is it, 7? Okay, great. Wealth. Wealth, which is how we define it. It's so important to define things, because I could tell you health. I tell my children all the time, are you eating healthy? Yes, Mom. Can you define healthy for me? Because that could vary, you know? And so, the ice cream might not be as healthy, even though it's organic ice cream. So wealth is the abundance of time. It's the greatest wealth. Treasure and talent for the purpose of contribution. Because if you're not contributing your wealth, time, treasure, and talent, it won't be fulfilling. 0 to 10, the people and women today, not women today, have an ordered and fulfilled in their wealth arena. 2, give me a number.
1.
3, awesome. All right, family. 0 to 10. Families are thriving, raising disciplined, wholesome children that are contributing to society. 0 to 10. So here's what I want you to start to think about. This is a few words today I'm going to mention to you, and this is one that I want you to take home with you and in your heart. It's to learn to see with eyes of wholeness. Okay, so here's what I want you to think about. So if your intimate life, your marriage is a 2, right? You go to counseling and you get a 2, and you're trying to fix your marriage. But guess what? Does your marriage impact the way you show up in your family? So if this is chaotic as your marriage, does that impact perhaps your home life? Does that impact your mental stress? Does that impact your self-image, less confidence? Okay, so so if your home life is chaotic, you mess with your children, do you think that impacts the way you show up to your husband? Okay. So if you feel like you don't have any purpose in your life, I'm just a mom, or I'm not doing anything meaningful that I know is in alignment with why I'm here, does that change your self-image? Does that make you more stressed? Do you maybe are more finicky to your husband? Do you feel like you're going to compete with your friends? A lot of times when I'm training women about marriages and they're like, oh, my marriage is hard, it's communication, you know what it usually boils down to? Money, which is the biggest cause of divorce. But they can't see it. Why? Because we were never trained to see with eyes of wholeness. We're only seeing parts of us. You agree? Yes? But see, part of the problem is that we have no language for it. We're like, yeah, I think I feel it, January. I think I know it. Yeah, it's impacting. And so a lot of times we go into sort of, counseling or mentorship, but we're only thinking about, oh, my mental health. But your mental health impacts the way you dream about your purpose, the way you take care of your home. Right? So what I want to do today is actually think about the state of our culture. So my goal is 3 things. I'm going to talk about the state of our culture because I want you to have language awareness because the world has gotten a little bit mad and we need to understand in order to fight the battle because you cannot know how to fight this battle unless we know our enemy, right? And also we're going to talk about the crisis of women today because we either do something about it or we will not have a generation who honors the dignity of women, and we are living that. We are not far away from it. Our world right now has gone mad, which is why it's such a great opportunity to be a woman. And we're going to talk about that. And then I want to talk about what the kind of woman that the world needs now. And in the afternoon, we're going to talk about how to dream. Who knows how to dream here? Is dreaming a skill? Oh, it's so fun. I love it. I'm here because of God's dream. All right, so 3 crises. Crisis means turning point. Do you think we're in a crisis right now? Of women undefined? So what we want to do is just give language to the ache of women. So number 1, why it's hard to be a woman today is because I keep turning, but I can see there. This is great. Okay, so let's understand that in 100 years, the world has massively shifted. The internet has changed the world faster, busier, and there's no silence. Just think about it. You go from one conversation to another, you go from one like to another, but you're not even reflecting because it's so busy, right? Secondly, the infrastructure of the family nucleus where your aunt lives here, unless you're Chelsea's family, everybody lives in the lake, but there's no mentorship. You can't go to your grandma and say, this boy, I don't think he likes me, grandma. And even if you are, your grandma is giving you advice, you're on your phone scrolling. You're not listening. This is the reason why when I train women, I'm like, I don't know how to cook. My kitchen's a mess. My mom was such a great cook. How did that happen? Well, you weren't paying attention. Why? Because not only is our family nucleus destroyed, we're all, we used to live in farms, we used to have our aunts, but also we're actually not paying attention. And number 3, there's been 100 years of massive moral decay, which we're going to talk about in our culture. So compounding this, you're like, oh, why is it so hard to be a woman? Well, the world has dramatically shifted. And we need to understand, we're like, why is she having a hard time? Well, the world has shifted, which means we need to understand what is it the women need today, right? In the 1920s, all of a sudden we could vote. Awesome. We could, own property. Prior to the 1960s, a man actually has to co-sign for us to own our property. I mean, this is a good thing, right? It has good things, and it also came with a lot of bad things. 1920s, we finally were able to vote. 1970s, I'm just giving you a little brief history here. Then all of a sudden there was a sexual revolution, and there was a gender confusion all of a sudden. We're like, what am I doing? Who's staying home? Now the woman is no longer at home. Now she was still demanded in her home, but now she was also demanded outside her home. And this happened during the Industrial Revolution. There was so many changes. And then internet came. All of a sudden we had information in our fingertips. So now we're cooking dinner, going to work, but there's all this information I got to now. And then what happened? The cell phone came. So not only are we distracted, we're available at a fingertip. It used to be that mail came, in 2 weeks, you wrote the letter, you thought about it, but now there's 100 emails when you wake up in the morning. And then the kids are waiting for 5 different soccer games. Each child has 4 soccer games. Why? Because there's more opportunities. The internet has given us more opportunities, and you're available. And then compounding that in social media, now it's available to everyone to see. The perfect mom, the perfect woman. And so what's happening now, all of a sudden, there's a multi-generational crisis where we're running with our head cut off. We don't know who we are. What is the value of women? Because we've been running for the last 100 years with a moral decay, lack of infrastructure, and we're like, why are women so tired? Oh my gosh. Can you imagine? Now, why is this important to understand? Number 1, so we don't judge other women for the fact that they are wrestling with their life. Number 2, have mercy on you, your daughters. And number 3, you have to be aware how to fight this generation and future generation. Can you imagine all the skill set your mother actually needed to learn to train you to say, listen, new boundaries when internet is here, right? You need to know how to communicate fast because now the world is going so fast. They could never be prepared to actually train us. We can't blame our parents. We can't blame ourselves. It's going so fast. I have a 16-year-old. We need to figure out how to, manage social media. At the same time, he knows how to use it. I mean, it's going so fast. Is this making sense to you? Yes. Does this kind of make you feel a little bit better? Yes. So what's happening, right? It's like, oh, nothing is wrong with me, January. This is really what I tell women. I'm like, You have to understand what is happening, where you're living, so you have mercy on you and other women around you. Because guess what? A lot of the common thing of loneliness is comparison and competition. We don't say it, we feel it. Anybody know what pheromones are? Yes. Okay. Women experience us, our presence. You don't have to say it. They can feel it. Pheromones, they jump. It's the way God designed us. It's like that's why you're more attractive to your husband. It's the same thing with comparison. Make no mistake. If you're thinking it, they're feeling it. They might not have language for it. And there's science behind it. So right now, we're living in a world that's busy. We're not reflecting. This is what I call, the midlife crisis, is the unprocessed life. All of us are like 45. I need to get a new car. Well, that may be a man. I need to get plastic surgery. I need to, all these things that we think, what is wrong with me? Something is wrong with me. Well, we haven't reflected in who we are, why we're here, what we want, what we don't want. We're constant reaction mode. This work-life balance, there's many things demanded on us because women are great and they're great in every place and we're needed everywhere, right? So what we have is what? Mental exhaustion. Does that make sense? Right? Now we're resentful. Now we're angry. Now we're comparing. Now we're anxious. And it compounds year after year. But here's the problem. We don't have language for it. You're carrying a burden. It's like having cancer, but you don't even know it. But you're feeling all the ache. And it's what? Impacting every part of your life. And you're like, why isn't my marriage inspiring? Why is my home life chaotic? Why don't I not like myself? It's this jambalaya, right, of frustration compounded over time because the state of the world has changed, and this is where we are, is a generational crisis. Because if you don't know how to manage overwhelm, can you train your daughter how to manage overwhelm? Of course not. You can't give what you don't have, right? Our daughters don't tell us. We have to incarnate this. And so what we're seeing is now it's hand down to generation, and it's a generational crisis. Why? Problem number 2, which is this is so important, and this is, to me, why we have school for women. Who trains women today? A lot of empowerment, not a lot of equipment. I can tell you, go chase your dream. But if you don't know how to dream as a skill set, it doesn't matter. You won't. Go have a great routine. Make sure you honor your husband. If you don't know how to build a routine, it doesn't matter. Every athlete trains. Is this the Olympics of our lifetime? Do you know athletes? They train for years. They train every day. They train in the quiet. They have coaches. They have training. And guess what we have? None. Think about it. We make 35,000 decisions a day? Did you know that? Who teaches us how to make decisions? You have to make decisions on where school you go to, who to marry, who to be a friend, where to live. 35,000 decisions. We don't learn decision-making skill, planning skill, dreaming. Where do you go? Mind management. In a world that's going so fast, if you don't know how to manage your mind, you better believe motherhood is going to be very hard. Because if your toddler is screaming and you are a victim to that scream because you haven't managed your mind and you don't know, toddlers just scream, that's their language. You've got to teach them how to talk. If you don't understand it, you're going to cry with your toddler. And all of a sudden there's no dinner and your husband comes home and guess what? He wants to be excited. He wants you to be ready for him and you're like, the house is a mess. Because who trained you how to clean your kitchen? Who trained you that cleaning your counter should be 5 minutes, not 25 minutes? Sorry, 3 minutes in my house. I train my daughters. It's a 3-step process. And I laugh about that. I never had that. The reason why I was so passionate about training women because I didn't have it and I suffered for it. Women are suffering today not because they have sort of abandoned their life, they don't know how to. You want to dream, you want to change the world, you don't know how to build a routine, and all of a sudden you start to convince yourself you're not good enough. No, you just don't know how to build a routine to chase your dreams. It's a skill, right? And that's where we are. There's no training. Effective communication skills. In my house, my children know 7% is words, 38% is tonality, and 55% body language. And they're like, oh, marriages is so hard. If you don't know that, marriage is going to be really hard. My children are like, I'm sorry. I'm like, well, you're saying I'm sorry with your 7%. Your 38 and 55% is not sorry. And guess what my children say? Mom, are you happy? I'm like, yeah. Not with your 38%, Mom. Not with your 55%. They know. You create a culture in your home that understand that you can learn a skill after skill, that there's a standard, right? But once again, these are training that if you didn't have it as a 4-year-old, as an 8-year-old, as a 12-year-old, a 13-year-old, is life going to be hard as a woman? Yes. Your fulfillment hinges so much on your training. Doctors, soldiers, CEO, lawyers, Olympians, teachers, we think, oh, years and years and years of training, right? No training in how to be a woman. We just released a course on how to be a woman. It's free. Why? Because there's no training in how to be a woman. And we're suffering for it. Because I want you to just think about it for a second. As a wife, a mother, a friend, a homemaker, or an entrepreneur, think about the skills that is necessary for your fulfillment, right? How about the skill of awareness? How about the skill of being consistent? Integrity is a skill. You're not born knowing how to be honest. Enthusiasm, which means with God. You have to learn that. You have to understand, I can say, hi, Chelsea. Hi, Chelsea. Different feeling. It doesn't matter what we say, it matters how we make people feel. Ultimately, I tell my children, I said, you leave the room, it's how you make people feel that they will remember you. And guess what? That's how doors of opportunities open. Maybe they'll actually hire you. We can evangelize all day long, but if we don't know that 7, 30, 55%, we're going to rob people of Jesus. Right? We need to know this. If we don't, how? I say, right now, I am like on my kids about politeness. I mean, I'm like, I write scripts. My kids don't know who writes scripts. It's how to wire your brain. I'm going to talk about that later on. But now we think, oh, it's so nice. Your kids are so polite. I'm like, no, that's bare minimum. I tell my kids. We think being polite is this magical thing. Because right now, if you go to any middle school, everybody's head down with their phone. Nobody knows how to say hi. The basic foundation of human communication and fulfillment is no longer normal. What is happening? Do we just stand for it? We have an obligation to change it. Women are created to nurture, and this is what I want you to understand, because guess what? An untrained woman is susceptible to being insecure. If you don't know how to build a routine, if you don't know how to manage your mind, all of a sudden you start looking at women, something's wrong with me. You're susceptible to what? Stress, anxiety. You're susceptible to manipulation. You're susceptible to toxic environment. You're susceptible to allowing your husband to mistreat you and disrespect you. Or tolerating pornography. You are susceptible to so many things that you don't deserve because you were made for more. You can't command it, what you deserve, unless you have the training. Does that make sense? We all want to know we're made for more. We all want to know that we're here, that our presence is making an indelible mark in history. But if you lack the training, you will convince yourself you are nothing, that you don't deserve it. You don't deserve that admiration from your husband. You don't deserve peace as motherhood. You don't deserve to be loved, not outside, apart from money, fame, and fortune. Is language important for us to understand here? Yes. I want you to think about your sisters, your mother, right now, because we're swimming in this muck. Overwhelm equals underskilled. That's what I teach in the women's school. Every single time you feel overwhelmed, something's wrong, I tell my children, what skill do you need to learn, unlearn, and relearn in order to overcome that? That's it. It's just a skill. Right? It's just a skill. We have to stop shaming and blaming women for the choices nobody ever taught them how to make. Because this is how we change the world. Because the reality is that every season of your life, single, young adult, teen, motherhood, you need new skill set. I have a 13 and 14-year-old. I have to teach her a new set of boundaries. Right? When my daughter was, I can't remember, 9. I'm sorry, I get my kids' daughters age confused. And then they go to school, and I was there last month, and they're like, I'm picking up my daughter for dentist. What grade is she? I'm like, last year, and because I have like 6 of them in school, I think. I'm almost positive, maybe 5, I don't know. One of them was homeschooled. And so I was like, I'm in 3rd grade. And she was like, and they came back, they're like, there's nobody here in 3rd grade. I was like, that was last year. She's actually in 4th now. Anyways, but she was, I think, 2nd grade. And every, skill training is a part of our home life, for the good and the bad, and the sweet part of it. So, and my children, so right before school, I train my children with script. They need to know what to say. If you don't know what to say, you get yourself into trouble, right? We start to feel insecure. And so one of the things I train my children is that other people's opinion of you doesn't have to be your opinion of you. And so we were training it. We were training it and My opinion of me is not, their opinion of me is not my opinion of me. And I wanted them to wire it in their brain, literally. When I say wiring, when you first learned how to drive, you had to think about driving, right? You first learned how to type in a keyboard. You had to think about A, but now you can sing, eat, type, drive, and you don't think about it. It's so subconscious. So it's the same thing. That's what scripting and wiring is. You literally, first, it's challenging, you're learning it, and then all of a sudden it's like learning a new language. It becomes habit. So that's what I do with their scripting. And so when she was about 2 months later, and she comes and she's like, Mom, this boy was like making fun of me. And I'm like, that's not very nice, And I'm kind of probing and asking. She's like, Mom, don't worry about it. His opinion of me is not my opinion of me. And I was like, yeah, of course. I mean, it took me years to learn that. But here's the thing. She was, second grade? I'm probably not accurate at that time, right? But then I had to reteach that again as a 13-year-old. Because then she had new sets of boundaries, new sets of awareness, new set of skills. Does that make sense? It's not one and done. It's layers and layers. And here's the most magical thing. People are like, Jeremy, you have 8 kids. You've got it all figured out. I'm like, are you kidding me? I've not had 8 kids and running multiple businesses. I have got to get up early in the morning to learn new skill set. I am still a student of the woman, of myself and the world. You don't ever have it figured out. I was in Kentucky a few months ago. I just remember it was cold. And I had a group of ladies, who were probably 60s and 70s, and I was teaching them how to dream. And there was one lady, Paula, and she's been in a woman's school, and she got there and asked her, and she's like, well, I'm really trying to figure out my routine. And it was her birthday. She was her 70th birthday. And she sat there, and she's like, I'm just trying to figure out my dream of the season in January, because I really have to learn a new skill and a new routine. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, Paula, just stop. Like, I wish I would be you someday, just so you know that. She was just there busy trying to figure out what her dream is, a 70-year-old woman. Why? Because till our dying breath, we have a purpose. Do we stop? No. No. You are culpable before God for every day and how you live your day and how you contribute who you are. The world tells us aging is bad. That retirement, that's when you just let it go. No. They tell you the same thing when you're married. No, that's actually when you spice it up. Right? And so all these things that the world is telling us, and yet we have no skill set. So number 3. Okay, are you with me so far? 1 and 2, the world has changed its skill set. Is this making sense?
Yes.
Okay, how is it making sense? I just want to get a pulse. Tell me, how are you feeling right now?
Justified.
There's hope? I love it. That's the word I want to hear. Justified, what'd you say? Unjustified, justified?
I said justified.
Understood, right? That's what language is. It gives us language for our battle. And that's what we're going to keep. Okay, so number 3 is there's a massive devaluing of women that's happened in the last 100 years. If you look at sort of the Audrey Hepburn world to where we are right now, what's happened to the woman, right? Her worth is totally subjective, meaning whatever you feel like your worth is. Okay? So how do we know what our worth is? It's your personal belief about your value. Are you worth the purse that you're wearing? Right? Are you more important when you have a PhD? I mean, this is kind of what we talk about in our head. So here's what I want you to just pause and think about, right? You were born with an irreplaceable mission. Literally, when you were a little girl. Yes. Oh, she's here, yeah. She's born, and you're looking at her, you're like, yes, let's go, yes.
I was looking, I'm like, where is she?
Yes. You're looking at it, and you're like, she has a mission. She has a profound mission. It is part of God's original design, which means his purpose for us, right? That is unique to her. And here, I'm going to give you evidence, because a lot of times we're like, oh, I'm not enough, I'm just not good. This is evidence that you are so irreplaceable. Specific circumstances of your environment that shape you. You live in Michigan, you live with this set of parents and this circumstance, compounding that with the fact that, you were born maybe with a specific leaders, maybe the specific president or that time in history, compounding that with the modern achievements. Maybe you were born when the internet was here, or it was a time when there was a social media, compounding that with the fact that your DNA, trillions of cells, and your hundreds and billions of neural connection is unique to you, and then unique to your gifts, your personality, your aptitude, also your family. Right? Nobody can have your experience and all of a sudden, you're suffering, your wounds, your pain. If you put that in one probability, does that make you so rare? Is there anybody going to be like you? So when women say, I'm just a mom, I'm too old, too young, what happens is that when you don't contribute while you're here in this world, then you actually rob the world of what you are here for. So you have to stop convincing yourself you're just, right? Because this is actually a timeline of history. People are like, what is that image? I'm like, I like it because it tells you that in the tapestry of billions of women in the world, if you don't do your mark and your part, who will? Nobody has your unique, irreplaceable combination. You have a unique and irreplaceable combination that nobody can ever fulfill. No one. And the combination should give you evidence of your irreplaceable and unique value. But what happens is that when a woman doubts her self-worth, she will inevitably doubt the fact that what she has to offer the world is so important and it's so meaningful that the world actually is robbed of its beauty when she doesn't. What happens when a woman is not skilled? Could she possibly rob the world of her purpose? Maybe because she didn't know how to build a routine. Maybe because she didn't know how to say no to social media. Maybe because she binged watched Netflix and she didn't think she had a purpose because she didn't know how to say no to herself. It's a skill, right? Because what you offer the world, no one can. So I guess here's a question is how did we convince several generations of women to doubt their value? How? I mean, think about it. That's the cry of the woman today. I'm not enough. That's why you're made for more. We're trying to convince them. How did we do that? Should be a test. 1, 2, and 3. What do you think? How did we convince generations of women? Yes?
We added without taking away.
That's a great. We added without taking away. That is a great way to put it. We're just stretch in every direction. What else? Okay, so I'm going to do a little quick test here. Well, fine, I like to. So I want you to think about it as a state of our culture, right? I want you to think how, as a culture, do we value women? So 0 to 10, if women has got fancy bag, nice car, nice, whatever, bling, whatever it is, nice diamond, right? Do we think subconsciously, oh, they're important, 0 to 10. Do we think women, right? So we think they're more important. So women's value is based on what? The possession. What about power? Somebody walks in the room and like, oh, they're the CEO. Oh, she's made millions of dollars. She must be more important than me. I'm less than her. We're not saying that. We're feeling it. Right? Do we put value in women's power? Yeah. I don't have a PhD. I'm not as important. I don't have whatever. All these what we call poisonous P. Popularity. All of a sudden somebody has more followers on Instagram, more popular. Do we feel inferior? Yes, right? We place so much value. What about what women can produce? All of a sudden, your child gets an A, and somehow we give her more attention than if she had a C. What about perfection? This is right now, it's be perfect. You know what the word perfect is in the Bible? And is you faithful? It's be perfect as your Heavenly Father is perfect. It's so convoluted in the way our culture, because flawless, and our culture right now that talks about flawlessness, right? Flawless, it's like, who's flawless? But actually, be perfect as your Heavenly Father is perfect comes from the root word teleos, perfect, which is to be complete and to be whole. Which is why we have the wholeness school, which is why it is time for us to honor the whole woman. That's what perfection is. It is to be fully alive and fully fulfilled. And yet it's so convoluted, right? And so here's what I want you to start thinking about, because this plays into understanding why it's so hard to be a woman today. Because when you're born, Jezebel, did I get it right? Gigi. Just think about Gigi. So Gigi right now, she's born with 100 billions of neurons, and it's a clean slate. Whatever she hears, smells, tastes, and whatever is around her, what happens is that's how she learns that this is a cup. Because through the process of repetition, what's in her conscious mind becomes subconscious. And you give her a cup when she's 5 years old, and you say that's a banana, and she's like, of course it's not a banana. Why? Because it's subconscious conditioning. So what's happening in our culture right now is that we are conditioning, creating a value based on power, possession, and it's so in our subconscious mind, we don't even think about it. A woman walks in the room, you're like, what is she wearing? It's so automatic. We're not saying it, we are actually experiencing. We are calculating women, right? We're just doing it. It's what? habitual. It's subconscious. It becomes a language. Can you imagine why so many of us don't feel enough? Because the pheromones they experience are judgment. But we don't even know we're doing it. We're doing it subconsciously. The 95% of our brain is doing it. We have created an infrastructure in our society that is neurologically wired and trained women to doubt their value and believe that their worth is conditional. But we don't have language for it. We're just walking around. We are feeling the cancer of society. That's why it is hard to be a woman today. And we have no language for it. And we're going 1,000,000 miles an hour. And we have no language to process, to think about it. Because the reality is that when you were born, if you think about Gigi, you look at her and she poops, she doesn't sleep, she barfs at you, but you're like, I love you unconditionally. There's nothing. You don't have to be perfect. You don't need to produce anything. You can even scream at me. Nothing. I love you unconditionally the way God designed it. Right? That's what, but then all of a sudden, a little girl grows up and she's like 4 or 5 or 6, and you live in a school where your grades, what school you go into, what you produce becomes what? Your value. Let's get it. My daughter, I was just, they had an award yesterday, and one of my daughter, she was one of the 5 that didn't sort of get an award, and she works hard, and my 14-year-old called me and she's like, Mom, I'm going to talk to the principal. She's my 14-year-old. She's like, this is not okay. This is public shaming, and it is not okay for them to single out people because our value is not based on the grade, and she's worked really hard. And I was like, good for you, Pia. She's like, yeah, that's just my Pia. But then I was like, Pia, but at the end of the day, I can either, allow her to be a victim of that, or I can say, well, you're stronger than that. You're not determined by what people think of you. And so my older son then, Ryan, called him and said, I want you to talk to Aoife, make sure she understands her value is not based on, I shouldn't be saying who it is, but you don't know my kids. But my point in saying that is that we just do it habitually. We don't even know that maybe we're treating our child a little bit better when they get a trophy, when maybe they have an A, and it's just part of our culture. The more extracurricular activities you have, the better it is. Why? Because look, world, that's what makes you valuable. You do more, right? At the expense of our mental sanity, that's now the mother doesn't understand the value of perhaps knowing that her worth is not based on her grades or trophies or activities, and that her daughter's feeling it, and guess what? One day she'll also be a mother. This is the general crisis that we are seeing, and we're not understanding. And if you think about right now, popularity, right? So the more followers you have, this is why people are obsessed with social media, and you have teenagers that are crying because nobody's following them. We are consumed by other people's opinion of us because we don't believe that our opinion of ourselves is unconditional. It doesn't ever change. It's God-given and divine. Nothing changes our value. But unless you know that and you own it, you will experience all the jealousy, all the confusion, and the burden of not being enough. Does that make sense? Yeah. Language to the battle is key to fighting this war. Because I want you to start thinking about the people in your life. Power, CEOs, PhD, the salary, right? Which means, well, we've made motherhood a second-class citizen. The war is like, are you a stay-home mom or a working mom? Is that really the war? Or is the battle should be, are you assuming your rightful call, whether as a mom or working outside or both? That should be the battle. Not, why have we made motherhood a lesser version of the woman? I was looking at, do you know who Hannah Nealman is? She just won Miss America. Mom of 7, she's a farm girl, beautiful, and I was doing a reaction video on her Instagram. I was appalled at the negative comments. How could you do that to your child? I mean, all these different things, because she was nursing and getting dolled up. I said, we have made motherhood as this weak victim, incapable, that we think, well, she's nursing, getting dolled up, assuming her rightful call, we think that is bad. How backwards is it? But if we don't fight back, who will? Who is going to defend the dignity of women? It's so funny. All the accolades, which doesn't matter, what Chelsea was saying, what did you gasp at? The fact that I had 8 kids. I'm like, that's why God gave me 8 children. Why? Because the redemption of what it means to women is not defined by the fact we have 2 8 kids. No. There needs to be a reverence on motherhood. We've lost it. And yet mothers need to train the next generation of women who, when you don't understand your value, now you're stressed, you don't have, the skills that you need. What we have are children that are unhappy with who they are. Why? Because the mothers are incapable. They are under attack. This is why you have to understand the language that your cars, your clothes, your mansion, your vacation, your designer clothes doesn't change you. I always say, when I try to buy something nice, I'm saying, am I buying that because it's whatever brand it is, or am I buying it because I like it? You can still have it, but don't be a slave to it. Don't buy it because it makes you more important in the room that you want to walk into. Because you are literally walking to your own insecurity. Train, and this is what we do in the school, is that we have to rewire our brain. I like this purse, but not because it's can you give me a brand? Christian Dior, thank you. Louis Vuitton, thank you. You can buy it. I like nice things, but don't be a slave of nice things, right? And that's so important for us to understand. Right now, this idea of proving yourself, but we have this idea of fear that our body's not perfect, that that we need to look a certain way. There's this fear of aging. I'm sorry that I'm putting a half-naked lady in there. I shouldn't have. But if you look at what's in the magazine right now, it's this idea that age is bad, that our body after it has a baby needs to be sacred and cared for. And what do we flaunt? I remember when I first had my child, I gained 60 pounds. And going to the grocery store and you thought your first baby, you'd lose all the pounds after you have your first baby. And there was this, I clearly didn't. I didn't even think I lost any weight. And so, there was this picture in the magazine and it says, how I lost, all my baby weight in, a month. And I'm thinking, something must be wrong with me. I'm eating too much. You start to think that. And I'm like, January, all these different things that are subconsciously ingrained in our culture. And that's what I want you to think about. You're smelling it, you're hearing it. Here's what I want you to do. Also, how do we define a beautiful woman in our culture? The first thing you're probably going to think about is tall, skinny, whatever the model is, right? Is that right? All of a sudden you're like, 2 seconds, how do you define a beautiful woman? And so what happens is that if we have a 4-year-old daughter and we haven't defined what a beautiful woman is, guess what? She goes to the grocery store with us every single day. She sees a magazine and says, beautiful. It looks one-dimensional, whatever it looks like. And then every single day gets wired in her brain. The definition of a beautiful woman. And not because you haven't told her that she's beautiful, because it was defined for her, because you cannot be reactive. You have to be proactive. Our world is different. We have to be on top of our game. We have to be proactive and saying, I have to define what a beautiful woman is for you before the world defines it for you. And you're just being innocent. You're just going to the grocery store. And then all of a sudden you're like, she's 13. Mom, why doesn't she feel beautiful? Because what her definition of a beautiful woman is one-dimensional. You just haven't learned the skill of defining it for her. A beautiful woman is a woman that inspires the world to be better, right? That's what beauty is. It's like a beautiful sunset. There's an awe about her. It is not what she does. It is an experience. Beauty is unquantifiable, just like the Sistine Chapel, a beautiful architecture. But that is the kind of woman, and that is the kind of woman that we need to redefine, and we need to replace conditions that a beautiful woman looks one way. You should be presentable, but you're more than that. And that's why we need to define what a beautiful woman is before the world defines it for her. Does that make sense? How many teenagers suffer with not feeling beautiful? Yes. Is it anything because of the way it's been defined for her? So if you've got granddaughters, define a beautiful one for her. And then live it. Live it. Be a woman who inspires the world to be better. In every day, in every moment, be someone who trains daily. Be someone who dreams. Inspire the world to be better. Who here wants to change their husband, right? You can't change your husband. We call this I3 in our school. You have to invest in yourself so that you can inspire, be inspired, and then you can invite him. You can't change him. You can't. And that's why we need to understand that this battle cry of a woman that I am not enough has been so neurologically wired. We don't understand it, but we feel it. Does that make sense? Right? Really? We have lost the reverence of what it means to be a woman because of the value we place on her. But the truth is that nobody can change your value. You're irreplaceable. It's God-given. There's no conditions. One of the things that, I train in our school is that my worth is unconditional. What I offer the world is irreplaceable. Over and over again, like a language. Like a language. And that's what we need to retrain the people around you. Why? Because when we think that our worth is conditional, guess what? There's a mask of pain. This is why we start comparing ourselves with other women. Ultimately, we feel insecure because we have an ache to feel valuable. It is a God-given ache because He created you unique and irreplaceable, but you don't believe it and you don't feel it. And therefore, you can't own your call in the world. And guess what happens? If you don't know your value because you've been told it's been poisoned based on your money, fame, fortune, what we call poisonous bee, how are you going to live every arena of your life? If you've been poisoned and your worth is unconditional and you're trying to have, you're trying to be healthy, but you're doing it to prove that being perfect is what makes you valuable. Or you don't hold your husband accountable because you don't think you're valuable. Or you don't feel like what you have to offer the world is important. So now you're designing a life that's what? Only parts of you matter. Does that make sense? But is it really true that only parts of you matter? When you don't understand your value, you cannot design friendship. You cannot hold your friend accountable for gossip because you don't think you deserve it. And so the problem is so compounding that we don't know what we deserve anymore as women. We don't believe we deserve to be beautiful. We don't believe we deserve to be healthy. We don't believe we deserve to be admired. We don't believe we deserve to have a fulfilling and inspiring marriages. It's so convoluted. Because, and here's where it's often conflict. We don't ask for more. You don't know what you deserve. Why? Because just because you deserve it and it was God-given, that doesn't mean you don't have to earn it by learning a skill set. You deserve to be peaceful in your own home. But you have to earn managing your mind. You deserve a beautiful marriage. But you have to learn how to communicate effectively. You have to train, just like athletes train. You deserve to feel healthy and alive, but you need to know how to say no to certain foods that you like. I like fruit. Me and Chelsea like fruit together. You still have to work on what you deserve, just because you deserve it. That's why we're co-creators for God. Isn't that amazing? That's why skill training is so crucial. And that's why, yes, you are made for more. And therefore, you have to demand more of yourself. Right? Because that's what you're created for. And this is the reason why, if you think about it, we're going to create our own metric, and you get to do it later on in the afternoon. Who's excited today? You're like, I get to decide what my metric is. And this is the reason why we have a culture of unfulfilled women today, right? Because our worth has been so conditional. Once again, you're unique, unrepeatable, irreplaceable, and deserving of all that is true, good, and beautiful. But I can't just tell you that. You have to own it and wire it into your system. You have to believe it in your gut. You have to own it. Because when you walk out of here, you're like, yes! How do I do that, January? Yeah. Yes! This is why we train for the rest of our life. This is why mothers, grandmothers, daughters, like athletes train. We train so that we fulfill our God-given purpose. Because if you don't, you could rob yourself of the very purpose of why you're here, simply because you have never been taught that training to be a woman is part of your daily way of life. And this is why we need to reintroduce a new kind of woman who is training, who believes that her value is irreplaceable, so that we will not and will replace the generational crisis. Because if mothers are training daily, then she can train her daughters. And if grandmothers are training with their daughters, isn't that so beautiful? I was invited to a what we call a watch party. Where our school is set up is that the school, they took God out of our school system. Now they're taking women out of our school system. So the infrastructure we have in the women's school is that we bring the school to the heart of women. So they train in small groups. They come together for 16 weeks. And I was invited in one of their what we call masterminds. And it was a grandmother, her 3 daughter-in-laws, her 3 daughters, and her granddaughter all in class together. And they were wrestling with hard questions. It was powerful. They were saying, nobody ever showed me how. I'm sorry. It's okay, Grandma. It's okay, Mom. Let's do it together. Isn't that beautiful? The humility of learning together. What you do is you cut off the generational crisis, right? You cut off the anxiety, the worry, the guilt, the shame, the anger, and you create a woman that is fully alive generationally and sustainably because she knows how. Your skill is what makes you confident. Who here wants to be confident? Where does confidence come from? Competence. It's a skill. We all want to be confident. You become a confident speaker, a singer, what? Practice. Competence. Skill building. Become a confident speaker. If you didn't know that, I was actually, one of my things I dread in my life is speaking in public. That's the honest truth. I'm like, I'll train every woman. It's just one of those things. I've had to rewire my brain. Last year I had privilege speaking with John Maxwell and Ed Milet, which is a great honor. I was barfing prior to. No, but that's the truth. I've had to learn it. I don't like the things that I just have to train it. We have to train what? For our call. Otherwise, I could miss this opportunity. What opportunity is missing in your life right now because of a lack of skill that you have? What do you think? The great news is that we can all change it, right? And here's how I want you to think about the unfulfilled woman. Here's where we are. The average, we have an average of 132 suicides a day. Americans experience physical pain, mental illness, and serious epidemic of loneliness. And guess what? Those women, all of us are friends, then they walk into unhappy marriages, unfulfilled careers, anxious children, chaotic home, health issues, toxic friendship, and untapped dreams. Is this where we are? Maybe not this room, but this is where we are. But here's the thing. I've just given you language for the crisis. What about the rest of the world? Who don't understand why they think something's wrong with them. And they're just going daily, every day in, taking care of their kids, trying to go to work. Just head down. They die without ever living. You said the wealthiest place in the world is the grave. It's where all our calls are buried. It's the parable of the talent. God has given you a talent and you don't actually train yourself with the right skill set, right? And so where we are in our culture right now, and this is really kind of just an honest conversation in the state of our culture, is that women's freedom is under attack. We are being undefined. And the people that are running our country and our leaders do not understand their value. Our schools, our institutions, our business, our media, our church. I mean, you don't have to look far. One of the most, famous, I'm not really into the pop culture, but I have to have a pulse on it because of my children. I have to have a conversation about it. But there's this, one of the famous stars, I think they're all kind of coming out, and they're doing satanic rituals right on stage. And in their music videos, I'm like, how are we even tolerating this? Can you give me a reason why? Because women have been so devalued, they're so tired and so exhausted, they have no capacity. They have no capacity to say, I'm going to fight that battle. I've got time, I've got energy. We're surviving. So meanwhile, evil grows when good women have been exhausted and devalued. So if we want to change that world that's happening in our business and our culture, you don't have a choice. I don't have a choice. I cannot make being a mom of 8 an excuse for me not get up at 4 a.m. I cannot make an excuse of the fact that I'm running a business and I can't do this and I'm tired. I have to say, but guess what? The world is burning. If not me, then who? If not you, then who? Where we are in our culture is a result of good women, too exhausted, too drained, and too devalued to fight the battles. If you don't armor up, who's going to fight it? Evil grows when good women what? Have been devalued. They lack the skill set. So what we have right now is a choice. If women continue to be unfulfilled, and this is the data, even the 100 years, with the amount of freedom that we have, women are not free. So if we're not free and we feel enslaved, then how are we going to change the world? We have a new problem. Who knows what the new problem is? Not only are we devalued and we're so tired, the world has shifted, we lack a skill set, and all of a sudden we are now undefined. Logic is out the door. Logic is out. We can win people with logic. It used to be. No, there's no logic. We used to be able to win people with truth. No, not in a really relativistic world where truth is upside down. The only hope, as Dostoevsky said us, is beauty can save the world. A beautiful woman can save the world. This is our call. A beautiful woman who inspires the world to be better. Why? Because she's training harder. Because she knows her worth. Do we have a choice if we want the next generation to understand who they are? We don't. We don't. I mean, our highest office, Ketanji Brown Jackson, which this is not a judgment, she's also a victim of how the women have been devalued. The highest form of office. I cannot define a woman. I am not a biologist. What have we become? I mean, it's so insane and asinine that you want to laugh about it, but also you want to cry about it. And most women, because I speak with thousands of women, they're like, I get it, January, this is insane, but I really don't know what to do about it. I feel hopeless. I sometimes feel hopeless. I'm like, what am I going to do? I'm like, do I go and say, well, women, what are we going to do about it? But what is undeniable is that our freedom, our God-given freedom to be a woman and the privilege that is unique to us is under attack. And if we don't do anything right now in 5 years, there won't be women's sports. And if we don't do anything about it, we're going to be devalued as mothers completely because this is where we are. Right? Who saw the documentary, What is a Woman? I recommend everyone see it so you get to see. We have to understand the state of our culture. There's no excuse. And sometimes the excuse is that I'm so busy January. Listen, sometimes I put my training on in the shower, and that's the reality. My husband can attest to it. I'm like, you know what? Right now, I'm just juggling a few things, but I cannot have a day without study. I have to study. I have to study myself. I have to study the state of the culture. I have to study what's going on in the world. We cannot be blind to what's happening in the world. And yes, there's so much going on, and it just takes 10 minutes. We need to have a pulse, because how do we change culture if we don't know what the war is out there? If not you, then who? Especially good women like you. You have a battle in front of you. You have a call. We need you. Grandmothers, mothers, there's no time for Netflix. Well, maybe on weekends sometimes. You have to binge, Like, there isn't. There's no time for lack of competition. There's no time for competition. This is war on women. And if you don't think this is a war on women, make no mistake, your daughter is at risk. This is what we have, right? The sports, the fact that I have to think about my daughter, which is 7 and 8, I have to think about their ages, could be in a bathroom with a man. But the thing about evil and the thing about this insanity is that 90% of people are saying, of course this is not logical. This is obviously, we know it. We know it in our heart. We know it in our mind. People who are making this decision have a sinister agenda, or they've been so wounded that they have no clarity of objective truth. We're seeing the compounding crisis. You just have to own your role in history. Your irreplaceable role to defend the value of women now and for generations to come. I am trying to plead here for you that you have a role in this time in history. This is where God brought you here in context of the present moment, in context of our leaders, in context of our crisis. This is you. You have got a call. You were made for more, and you have to own it. You have to train harder than you've ever trained before. You have to say, what is it? Who is it? Because what we have right now, and if you think about just history of feminism, the first wave of feminism was what? We were able to vote. We were able to own property, and then all of a sudden we were able to work outside our home. And then the third wave of feminism, arguably, we were able to be respected in the workplace. We have less, I would say, discrimination against our sex. There's a lot of good, but there also came a lot of bad. Feminism is a taboo word right now. But what we want to do is reintroduce a new kind of woman. Let's take all the good, because I want to be able to vote. I want to be able to work. I don't want to take away the fact that 100 years of hard work of women, and they were wounded. just like we are wounded, and we cannot judge it, but what we can do is say, what do we do about it? Because we can talk and complain about how awful it was, and there was a lot of bad stuff, and we know it. But what if there was a new woman emerging from this crisis? What if you, I, and a group of women who said, you know what, no more. I'm not putting up with this. I will define who I am. I will honor men. I will value life. I want my freedom. I want to choose, but I want to choose freely, rooted in responsibility. I am disciplined. I will work hard. I will make I will not waste my time. What if that's the kind of woman that we're training to become? I will be strategic about how I am in my school, in my community, in my church. Hope. You're the hope. You're the hope. We are a full-blown war, when now we are undefined and our God-given freedom is taken away from us. You have to own your call. In this time in history, there's no more time to waste. You have to wrestle with God, your insecurities, your limitations, all your old wounds, all that you're not, all the doubts that you have, and say, you know what? I'm going to work on that because I've got work to do. Not one, but all of us collectively. We train, we form, and we rebuild the next generation. The problem with darkness is not darkness. It is lack of light. That's what my priest used to say. The only reason why Hollywood and the politicians and all the sinister agenda is growing is because we're not there. We're dreaming too small. We're selling ourselves short. We don't believe we're good enough. There's no time for this smallness. The world is burning, and you have to do your part. Imagine if you and I's role for the next 10 years is build an army that are going to raise the dignity of women for generations to come. How would we change? When evil abounds, grace abounds more. There is a grace for your call that is given to you. Yes, it will crucify you. Yes, you will have to work for it. Isn't it that we reveal that perhaps this is the new woman that the world needs now? That the crisis that we have, the turning point, is understanding that you're the hope that will determine history. That you are going to assume your rightful role and throne to raise the dignity of women for generations to come in your community, in your family, in your marriage, in your church. And you understood that you're being sent out as a mission, like a warrior. Maybe that's why we need a fifth wave of feminism. Let's take all the good, leave out all the junk, and let's redefine this new woman. We are ready for her, don't you think? We are ready for this new woman. We are tired of bashing men. We are tired of devaluing mothers. We're tired of comparing, competing. We want truth, beauty, and goodness. Enough is enough. We are tired of not being enough. Don't you think that women are ready for this? Yes, who says yes? Don't you think women are hungry for it? They just don't know how. Right? Isn't this the most exciting time to be a woman? It's an exciting time to be a woman. Right? Why? Because our wounds become the compass to our contribution. The fact that I struggled with my own relationship with my family, the fact that nobody ever trained me how to be a woman, is the reason why I'm here. It's the reason why I trained harder. I remember I never knew what a great marriage was because my parents were great people, but nobody trained them how to be, married. And so I didn't even know what it means to be in love. I didn't. And I remember in my youth group, I saw this couple, and my definition of a good marriage, I thought, well, pretty good. You see each other, but you don't really like each other, but you see each other. That was my definition, right? A definition to define our decisions. And so I saw this couple, Terry and Dita, which is so beautiful. Actually, I'm going to see them for the first time in like 15 years tomorrow. She's coming to see me here. She lives in Michigan. This beautiful couple, and he's 6'5", which reminds me of my husband, and she's a small, tiny Filipino, and he was talking about her, and I was like, No man talks about his wife like that. No way. You're not that in love. There's no way. And so I was in this youth group of a conference of 2,000 people. I flagged them. I said, can I babysit your kids for free? And I just want to follow you around. So 3 summers, I followed them as a missionary. They were a missionary family. I was studying their marriage because I never had it. And I remember God said, when I went to Steubenville my first year, and God said, well, we need to design you, January, as a woman. And so you can't date because if you really want that great marriage, and you need to know how to be a woman. I'm like, but this is where you're supposed to find guys. Like, this is Steubenville, And God was saying, no, I need you for 3 years. Learn to love me and learn to love yourselves. So I never dated in 3 years and trained myself. That wound of not having a great marriage, of not knowing how to be a woman, is the reason why I'm here. Your wounds is your compass, your contribution. Our generational wound is our compass towards our contribution for the future. And perhaps this is where we usher the new woman. Who's ready for it? Right? Woman defined, rooted in freedom and responsibility. This new woman leads the charge in defending the dignity of women for generations to come, beginning with understanding her own worth. This new woman, she studies the signs of our time. She seeks opportunities to raise the dignity of women, men and children. She's training herself daily, develops her mindset and her skill set. She creates a village of women around her, just like what Chelsea's doing. She's the new woman, right? Growing and pursuing their unique, irreplaceable purpose. She's not a victim to her emotions, not a victim to the circumstance. She does not make excuses for greatness and to live an extraordinary life in her ordinary days. She finds solutions, she takes action, she knows her value, her purpose. She defends freedom, faith, and family. That's what we're called to, right? This is the kind of woman that will raise the dignity for generations to come. She's a woman of principle. She's not judgmental. She has a moral compass, but yet she's compassionate. She's firm in her standards. She's relevant, and yet she's timeless. She talks with grandma and also the 4-year-old. She makes them feel important because that's how we remember. She's confident, she's compassionate, but she's hardworking. She understands how to manage her thoughts. She's in command of her emotion. She's a visionary, but she's fully present in the moment. You will feel her presence, but also she's casting a vision of the future. She's generous, but she's firm with her boundaries. She knows her no. She's trustworthy. She's a woman of integrity. You can trust her word. She's a woman of her word. She's warm and she's inviting. She's patient, which is to suffer for. That's the reward of patience. But she's persistent. She's not caving in to the stories of the world. She's fierce and yet she's tender. She's open to learning about the world, but she's firm in her moral compass. Isn't this exciting? Mm-hmm. Who's ready for this new woman? Right? The question is what? What's the question? How? Right? Well, we have to design our life. We have to raise our standard in every season of our life. There's no excuse, too young, too old. We can't be afraid to speak up, but we also can't be afraid to listen. But people have different opinions. We can't be afraid to learn a new skill and say, I actually don't know that skill. I actually don't know how to build a routine, January. This is why I've been wanting to actually build an orphanage, but I haven't done it. We're not afraid to be humble. We're not afraid to look at our wounds and learn and harvest wisdom from it. We're not afraid to honor our husband, make them feel important. We're not competing with our husband, right? We understand that our heart ought to be pure, but we're not naive to what's happening in the world. We're not afraid to take responsibility for our mistakes. We know failure is part of the journey. We have this thing in our home what we have called GFG. We do it at dinner. Where growth, failure, gratitude, growth, and failure. And where how have you grown today? What have you failed? And what have you gained from it? She's not afraid to be ambitious. What's the purpose of our ambition? To serve the world. Make a lot of money, but give it all away or use it for the good. Yes, be the CEO. We need more great CEOs. Yes, be whatever you're called to. Be the president, but use it for the good. You're not, my priest used to always say, you're not the destination, January, so stop acting like it. He liked to humble me. He said, you're an arrow. You're not the destination. But yes, we should imagine changing the world. We need to, because if we're not casting a vision, I love thinking about the Wright brothers because nobody ever thought they could build an airplane. It was insane. It was crazy, right? An airplane, but it took that vision, right? It takes that one woman who has that vision. She uses her wealth to bring forth what is good. And I think that ultimately, we have to train to become her. How? Because nobody becomes an Olympian gold medalist overnight, right? We have to make a decision. We have a duty to raise the dignity of women for generations to come and protect our children against the moral decay that is robbing women of their God-given privilege, the sacred gift of being a woman, right? The masterpiece. Isn't that beautiful to think about it? How? We have to design you. You have to design you. I've offered you what is possible. And ultimately, you have to make a choice to work to become her. This is the choice of a generation. This is what you have to decide for yourself. You cannot do it alone. You need somebody to guide you, and you need a group of women that are supporting you in your call to becoming greater than your current self. We have to, at every season of our life, design who we are. I have to design myself over and over again. It's the death of the old woman and the rise of the new woman every single day of our life, every season of our life. That's why God says to embody the death and resurrection every day. It's the death of the old woman and the rise of a new. Every day we have that opportunity. Right? Oh. What do you think? How do you feel?
Inspired.
How does this make you feel in one word? Intrigued.
Inspired.
Yeah.
Empowered.
Yeah. Empowered. Well, this afternoon, we're going to go down and take this exciting thing and we're going to take it interiorly. And we're going to work on ourselves. We're going to put on my teaching hat, and we're going to talk about the desires of our heart. We're going to cast our dream for ourselves, and I'm going to teach you how to plan to become that woman who's ready.